Hello, Gareth here, and today we're going to paint this beautiful mountainside. So this place is called Aso, Mt Aso. Have to be careful how I say that word. And I went to this place with my family about a month ago, and we had a wonderful time. So the first thing we're going to do is a drawing. So very simple drawing though. So I'm going to have the mountain about here, the top of the mountain. I'm going to draw this very lightly, like that. And then this. And then there's a bit here. So you have to look very carefully. And then there's a bit here. And then here we've got like a reddish area. And it comes down here too. Like that. Oh, no, like that. So, and then over here we've got some small bushes. So that's the basic drawing. Very, very simple. Then we're going to wet the sky area. So I'm using a big flat brush that can quickly cover the surface. There we go. Then I'm going to use my pointed oval, and I'm going to get some yellow ochre. And just around the sun area, I'm going to use some of this. Like that. And then water my brush and soften this yellow ochre. Like that. So once I've done that, it's time to get some blue. So this is Phthalo blue. I normally like the red shade version, but this is the yellow or blue shade. I forget which. Oh, yellow shade. Okay, so here you have to be careful to leave white spaces. Very, very careful. Okay, looking good. And here too. And here. And then around here. As this mixes with the yellow, it changes a little. Okay, and also down here. Okay, so I think that's done. You have to work fairly quickly because it's drying out, and we don't want it to dry out before we've finished. So next I'm going to get some of this light blue. This is cerulean blue. Any light blue will do, I think. Then add some red, and then add some yellow ochre, and we're going to have a grey colour, or we want a grey colour. So mix those three colours and you will get a grey. A blue and a red and a yellow ochre will make a grey. So I think we're ready. This is a bit of a warm grey. So if your mix is too wet, dab your brush on the rag. Like that. Okay, and let's continue. Okay. And here too, there's some grey. So I'm not copying everything. It's not exactly the same as my photo, just roughly similar. And I'm trying to paint around the mountain, but I'm actually painting over the mountain. So I'm going to have to wipe some of this away in a minute. So that's pretty good. So get this. This is kitchen paper. Ideally, I would use tissue. Okay, and now the next thing is to go thicker. So dab my brush, that's very important. Get some blue, get some red, get some yellow ochre. Now that's too dark. Okay, maybe that's good. So let's try here. Not too bad. And then here. So we're painting wet into wet here. It's one of the hardest things to do in watercolor painting, and you have to be very careful with how much water you use. So if it goes wrong, be kind to yourself, because it is very tricky, this, and it takes a lot of practice to get a good feeling for the amount of water in your mixers. And if you don't get the right amount, it goes wrong. It can go very, very badly wrong. Okay, I think that's looking good. And I have to stop zoom because it's drying out. So that's a very important thing to think about. Clean my brush, get this kitchen towel, whatever, and I'm going to go around here with this. It's working well, but one of the big problems is soon it gets dirty. So you have to find a new corner. You see the way I'm folding it? And the way I'm getting a lovely, what can I say? Like thin corner. You don't want a thick one. You want a thin one. So the challenge here, if you're a beginner, is that it might take you quite a while to paint the sky. And when you get to this final stage, the paint might have dried, so you're not going to be able to lift it out like I can now, because it needs to be wet. So what you do in that case is not despair, but get some white paint like this, Chinese white or titanium white, and after it's dried, just add some white highlights or this white rim lighting. And I think that's finished. Yeah, that will do. And I need to clean up here where I've got my mountain area. Okay, so let's leave that to dry. This has now dried and we're going to do the actual landscape, paint that. So for that, I think I'll use a mop brush, but a flat brush will also be okay. And for this distant mountain, I'm going to use maybe yellow ochre and cerulean blue. And it's going to be a fairly light mix. I think that will do. A touch more water, touch more, and then let's have a look. Yeah, that's nice. I've got a hair. I don't need that. So next, I want to make a more vibrant green, so I'm going to add some of this yellow. This is Imidazoline yellow. I don't know how you pronounce it. That's how I pronounce it. But any bright yellow will probably be okay. And then we're going to do along here. If you can get some little white bits, that's nice. That's a bonus, a plus. And then the next thing is a brown, a warm brown colour. Maybe russet. So I need a white space, maybe here, or I'll clean up this. I actually could use that blue. So yellow ochre and red, and then a touch of blue in there will brown it off. Oops. So I think that will do. Nope, more red. More red. Okay, here we go. You don't want to spend too long, if possible, mixing your colours because this paint is drying. Although that said, you don't want this too wet when you add this one below. Otherwise, the colours are going to mix too much. And I'm hoping that they won't mix too much because I want to retain the different colours. And not end up with a blend. Okay, then below here we've got a vibrant green, so add lots of this. Cerulean blue, more yellow, even more yellow. So beautiful, beautiful green here. Oh, I should have waited there. So I need to wait a little bit for this to dry, and I can perhaps tilt it so it doesn't run down into the green and destroy the green. Or I can just keep it flat. That will be good too. Okay, that's done. Oh, it's looking quite pretty. Then go back to this mix, clean my brush, dab it, and then here we go with this lovely brown. I touched the green too soon. Should have given it a little bit more time to dry. You don't want it completely dry, but not sopping wet. Okay, this is looking quite good, but I've run out of my mixture. and just do some little bits of intense red. So this is just giving it a little bit of variety. Okay, and then final thing is get some of this yellow, get some of this blue. And then here we go. And I'm trying to leave a few white gaps because it really helps. And then let's do a little bit of variety, a little bit of intense yellow. And then some intense bits of almost pure cerulean blue. Could be a good idea, could be a bad idea. We're going to find out. But it's fun. Look at these beautiful colours. That's what it's all about. And then the final thing is just to spray it. Sadly, my spray is not so good anymore, and you get this jet of water coming out rather than a fine spray, but I've got nothing else, so can't be helped. In Japanese they say shogunai, shogunai, it can't be helped. Okay, there we go. Let's leave that now to dry. Now it has all dried, and I'm going to do perhaps the biggest stage of the whole painting, which is basically to add all the shadows. And I'm going to do it wet in wet. So I'm getting a big flat brush, and I'm just going to wet basically everything. I'll probably stop about here because I can wet this area later. And because this will probably dry off fairly quickly. Then again, let's just wet all of it. I changed my mind. Okay, so I'm going to begin with this mountain in the distance, mountain top, and I'm going to make a purplish colour. So I use my light blue and a touch of red, and a bit more, I can take my time because it's still very wet, too wet to paint on at the moment. And this is a fairly thickish mix because I'm adding it to wet paint, so if it's watery it will just go everywhere, it will explode. And I might add a touch of yellow ochre just to grey it off. So that's blue, red and yellow ochre. And you can use your rag to get rid of excess water on the brush, which makes the mix even thicker, at least the mix on the brush. So I might start here. Like that. It's still a bit too wet. Maybe now it's not too bad. It's quite a complicated pattern actually. I think that will do. And then maybe here at the bottom do an even thicker mix if that's possible. So blue, red, yellow ochre, my 3 favourite colours, and it's super thick, this is. And just at the bottom I'm adding shadows within the shadow. Okay, I think that's done, and then I'm going to wet this a bit because I think it's dried. I think that looks fairly nice. I'm not super happy with these darker areas. They're okay, but I don't think the pattern, I don't think I've done the pattern as well as I wanted to. So I'm being careful now not to touch the area above. And this is going to be difficult because I need to do a greeny mix, but it has to be darker than this. So I'm using yellow ochre and this light blue, bit more yellow. I think that's it. And this is a very thick mix. Now, you have to be careful that it doesn't all look the same, that you're not repeating the same pattern. Here, we've got like little bits, maybe they're bushes or small trees, and then they get bigger, and that's a nice pattern. Okay, and then this comes down here. And then I'm going to do a shadow for this shrubbery. So the sun is here, so you're going to get shadows roughly here, here, here. And then it's going to change to the other side because it's on, these bushes are on the other side of the sunlight or the sun. Yeah, if I can get dry brush down here, then that's nice, very nice. Okay, I think that's done. Then next thing is this bit, and it's dried, so wet it again. Not too much though, just a little bit of water and soften it. And I might try and do this bit as well. Now with this bit, I'm just going to use yellow ochre, touch of alizarin crimson, and a little bit of blue. I think it's already got some blue in it. I can use this and then dab it because it's a bit too wet. Get rid of excess water, and then although I want this to be noticeable, I want it to be a little bit more subtle than this. Okay, I think that will do. Good enough. Then next thing is this area, which is going to be, again, blue, used a dark blue this time, and some red, and then a touch of yellow ochre. Give me quite a dark colour. More yellow ochre. So it's a grey, maybe a greenish grey. And let's see, it's quite strong, but it will get weaker. There's some bushes here, and I don't want to do them yet. It's a bit too much to do them at the moment. So I'm trying to do everything else except for the bushes. This thing here, there's a big hole here in the ground. It's quite a tricky shape. But it really sticks out. It's erosion. And then wipe this because I want it to get fainter now, because we've got some light shadows here. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Ooh, I don't know about that. Okay, then I'm going to do this area here. I might make this even bigger. Okay. And then the final bit, this bit here and below. So I was brushing a bit too much there, and I was starting to shift the paint a little, but not too much. But just be careful of that. Even when you're using just water, if you brush too hard, you will start to move the paint. You might want to do that, in which case no problem. And now I'm going super strong again using this, and it starts out small and it just becomes bigger. There's a big gap here, big trough. And then down here you've got, I'm going to add some yellow ochre just to make it a bit more of a greeny dark. And then I'm going to try and do a few, yeah, that's better. I hope you can see that this is now a greeny dark, and if it was just black, I think it would be a bit too much. And here you've got these tufts of grass. Yeah. It's very beautiful texture actually. And I think I'll get a touch of yellow ochre, quite weak, and just try to soften this. Because it looks a wee bit like it's just stuck on. Maybe that's a bit better. And this upper part, I'm not so happy with that. That too doesn't seem to quite look right. Try to blend that in. So I'm squinting my eyes, so that's very important. And now I'm just going to spray that. My spray bottle is not very good. It has like a single stream that comes out at the moment, but I haven't got anything else, so has to do for now. I'm spraying horizontally so that the drops fall down and they're not directly hitting the paper. It's looking quite interesting. This doesn't look quite right, so maybe just get some water and just do that. Looks maybe a bit more natural now. Yep. This line as well needs breaking up a bit. This black line. It was looking a little bit too artificial, but I think that's done now. And I was going to say that's it, but not quite yet. Okay, let's leave it now to dry. I might just do a bit of a darker mark up there. So using this mix, but make it a bit thicker. So yellow, red, and a touch of this blue here. And just do that. Blend that in with my finger a bit, that one. Maybe that too. You can use your finger to soften marks and make them more interesting as well. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's leave that now to dry completely. So I think it's dried, at least at the top and here. So I'm going to add these bushes, which are a little bit difficult. I'm using my pointed oval brush. I think it's my favorite brush. And I'm going to use this mix, which is basically yellow ochre and blue. And I might add some yellow, Imidazoline yellow. And then, how many bushes? We've got 1, 2, 3, about 5. There might be a few more. Now the important thing is to vary the spacing of these bushes, and also the size. Have one there and then one right next to it, so it's irregular looking. And then I'm going to get some of this dark mix here, and this bit in the corner is going to be dark in the bottom left hand corner because of the sunshine coming from over here. And then the final thing, the shadows. So let's have a think about them. So they are a little bit curved because they're going down a slope. And you have to do your best to make sure they are all going in roughly the same direction. Yeah, I think that's it. And I think the painting is more or less finished. So now, let's do a review. Okay, review time. Now, overall, I'm fairly happy with this painting. So, I think it has a cheerfulness because the colours are very, I think the colours are very, colourful. But there's a nice, the colours are nice, they're vibrant. And so I think that is very good in this painting. So let's look at the sky. Now, I think the sky is pretty good. I'm thinking though of softening here and here. Now this could be a bad idea, but I'm going to get my flat brush and I'm just going to do this. And this. And I'm just going to soften this a bit. Could be a bad idea. But I think it's good to play around with the painting and try things. But it does mean sometimes that things will go wrong. And I think also around here, I'm going to get this brush, my pointed oval. Now my water is a little bit dirty. I think I'll get away with it, but if it was pure or clean water, that would be better. So I'm going to try and suggest some streaks of light coming down from here. I might even dampen this. You have to be really careful when you dampen dark areas because you can start to shift paint and it becomes very noticeable. Doesn't look nice. So first of all, I'll use the brush. And at first we might not see anything, but I'm hoping we're going to see lines coming down. Of course, when we go through dark areas, it will become more noticeable perhaps. Okay. It's just a small thing we're doing, but I think already it looks better. The sky looks softer. And maybe now we're ready for heavy artillery. And the heavy artillery is tissue. Here we go. So the area is quite wet. Let's see if we can get a streak of light coming down. Maybe not, but what it is doing is softening everything. And that's nice. And I think maybe that's enough. What I might do is just darken there with some blue. Could be doing too much now, but wet that. And I'm just going to get some of this blue here. And it's like creating a frame. And might use that actually. Dab it because it's too wet. Get rid of some dirt there. Some fluff. And then just do this. Bad idea, good idea, I'm not sure. But fun. Experimenting. And again, a bit more. Let's even go into this grey area a bit and see what that looks like. I think it's giving it that kind of vaporous effect, which, because it's the sky, looks good. I can soften that a bit. And maybe even there, make that a touch darker. Now, I perhaps should leave that now to dry completely, but I'm going to press on and do this mountain area. Now, I think the mountain area looks really good, but if we made it a bit softer, fainter, it would increase the sense of depth, of distance. So, very careful here. This might be drying, so I don't want a sopping wet brush. So I dab that on the rag, and then I'm going to gently go across. So I'm being very careful because I might be picking up some pigment. Now it's softening more now. And we're picking up some dirt, so you don't want that. So let's wipe that up. And I think it's become fainter, which is what we want. And if we do get a lovely faintness, it's going to really improve the sense of depth. Depth of field, distance basically. I think that will do. You have to do this very delicately. Okay, let's leave that to dry. So the next thing is looking at this and basically the rest of the picture. And I think what I'm going to do here is use a little bit of white and do some highlights. So I've got some white already in my palette, which I might as well use. And I think I'm going to use my liner brush, which is this one, also called a rigger brush. And let's get some white. And I might mix that with a touch of yellow and do some highlights here, like that. And I think that looks a lot better. And then here we've got some maybe highlights on these trees, but I don't want it too obvious, so I'm going to mix in some yellow ochre. In fact, let me have a think. I'm going to make a green, and then I'm going to add some white, and so it's going to look a minty colour. So let's get some yellow, cerulean blue, and a bit of white to make it opaque. And then I'm just going to touch these up, and we need to remember the direction of the sun, and that will make us think about where the highlights are going to be. So try not to do it too nicely. Little bits and bobs. Looks really good. Okay, and then here I need to have the highlights on the other side because these trees are on the other side of the sun. There we go. And I think that looks a bit better. And I'm even going to do a few marks here. Like that. and I think that looks better. Okay, and then what else? So this bit here, I think that's pretty okay as it is. Perhaps some yellow and white, and we can just add some little highlights just to make it look more interesting. Yep. And then finally at the bottom do a few as well. Oh, but also a few more up here. And yeah, at the bottom just a few. And it's amazing how just a few marks like this can really have a big effect on the painting and really transform it from something that's good to something that's even better. Yeah, I like that. And it really is quite enjoyable doing this. And there we go. So one final thing though, take a risk now. I'm going to go over that distant mountain with a pale blue. I'm going to use cerulean blue, however you pronounce it. And just a very weak wash, like a tea wash. Very, very weak. Could be a bad idea. So you don't want to brush over the same area again and again because you'll shift the paint. But I'm hoping by painting it blue, it's going to make it appear to be more in the distance. More distant. Doesn't look like it's having much effect, but that's fine. I'm just glad that I tried. It's a good thing just to try things, and if they fail, then they fail, but now and again they will succeed. Okay. And I'm just going to do something a little bit crazy and not recommended. Get this flat brush, do this, and blend this into the landscape. And the other side too. Then get some blue, maybe this dark blue, and do this. And then soften it a bit. And do the same the other side. and it's just a nice way of blending the sky a bit more into the ground, the landscape itself, and also of softening the sides of the sky so that our eye goes more into the middle. It makes the sky look more, what's the word, vaporous, which it is. Yeah, and there we go. Sometimes you might get a hair. You can sometimes pick it up with the brush, but if you can't, don't worry about it. Hopefully you can brush it off later when everything has dried. And so that's the finished painting. So notice how the review also involved not just passively looking at the painting, but also going back into the painting and having a go at correcting things, which I highly recommend. I didn't used to. I used to think, oh, if you try and fuss around with it, especially with watercolor, you'll make it even worse. But actually now my view is the exact opposite, and I think if it does look not quite as good as you want it to be, then go back in and have another go, because you will get better through doing that. And so that's it. And now I'm quite happy with this painting. I can't say 100% happy with it. I think the colours are lovely, but it's not quite, I don't know what exactly is wrong with it for me, but maybe, yeah, I think the distant part of the landscape, I would like it to be a lot more fainter. But I think I've done my best to do that, and that's enough. And so I'm just going to settle with that now. But overall, fairly happy with it. So that's it for this lesson. Please have a go. Most important of all, have fun. Really enjoy it and be a little bit wild, yeah? And then secondly, please experiment. It's so important and so much fun, and that's how you'll improve. And I'll be back next month with another lesson. Bye for now.